Welcome to the GameRamble video review for So Many Me, narrated by me, Dark Cloud. As always, the full text version of this review can be found on the GameRamble website linked below. Also, please keep in mind that this review was originally published in 2014. The TLDR is that the whimsical visuals might fool you into thinking that this is just another easy platform title, but So Many Me packs a lot of tricky puzzles as well. Completing the levels is easy enough for players of all skill levels to have a fair shot, but finding all the costumes and relics takes considerably more skill. If you're looking for a polished and addictive platformer, look no further than So Many Me. Gameplay receives a 9 out of 10. So Many Me is a charming platformer with a strong emphasis on puzzle solving. Graphics receives a 9 out of 10. The visuals are packed with detail, color and personality. Sound receives a 9 out of 10. The catchy soundtrack perfectly matches the light-hearted visual style. The overall score for So Many Me is 9 out of 10. And now for the full review. Philo is a little green blob who runs into a giant floating disembodied head named Asimov one day while out searching for food. After being told by Asimov that he's the chosen one, Philo leaps into action to save the world, but ends up with a bunch of clones in the process. Unable to shake the Congo line of clones following in his footsteps, Philo instead uses their powers to aid him in his quest. So Many Me doesn't have the most profound or original storyline, but the game's characters know it, providing some light-hearted moments. Our time with the development build of the game during its Kickstarter campaign already demonstrated that it was shaping up to be something special, so it was pretty sad to see it didn't make its funding goals. Thankfully, Extend Studio could complete the game despite this setback, even though not all the stretch goals could be implemented. In case you're in the dark about the gameplay of So Many Me, it's a platform title with a heavy emphasis on puzzle solving. The levels are spread across 4 distinct worlds, and your goal for each is simply to reach the exit. After beating the guardians of the 4 areas, it's onto the volcano level for the final showdown. Apart from the boss battles, which we will discuss in a bit, the levels are relatively easy, and reaching the exit shouldn't pose too much of a problem for fans of the genre. The real challenge comes from the 3 hidden items tucked away on each level. While some exploration is involved, the levels are straightforward, and the hidden objects are usually in plain sight. Getting to them is entirely different though, and usually involves solving a puzzle. Philo's clones, or the Me's as he refers to them, does exactly as he does, and they do not really have any special powers of their own. Just like Philo, they can turn into platform blocks, which are used as stepping stones among other things, but using any power requires consuming special food found throughout the levels. The powers are vital as certain enemies and areas on each level prevent the use of your block transformations. This means that to reach certain areas or bypass enemies, you will have to turn clones into trampolines, floating boxing gloves or shining blocks to solve the puzzles. 3 powers don't sound like much, but each can only be used once, and the order in which they are used is often vital to solving a puzzle correctly. It's hard to explain just how clever some of the puzzles involving these abilities are, but you'll experience them firsthand when playing the game. A few times we thought we had figured out how to reach an item that seemed inaccessible, only to discover something else thwarting us at the last step. It can be frustrating of course, but it's also gratifying when you finally make the breakthrough. Most of the items are optional though, so if you're stuck you can just keep going toward the exit and return after you've given your brain a rest. The items you collect include arc seeds, which increases the number of clones you have following you, as well as artifacts that must be crafted back at the hub pool to use their enhancements, and costumes. The costumes only offer aesthetic changes to your clones instead of bestowing any abilities. Still, they're so adorable that you will find yourself actively trying to unlock new ones. A few of the costumes are based on other indie game characters and look extra adorable on the Miis. Speaking of the visuals, So Many Me features some beautiful 2D artwork and great character designs. The game's whole mood is cheerful and upbeat, with vivid colors and cute animations. Even the enemy designs are more adorable than threatening, so if you're looking for blood and gore, you won't find it here. The levels are themed around a dark forest, mines, skyraft, outskirts and a volcano. While these are all themes I've seen in platform titles, So Many Me uses this charming visual style to give each a unique look. The music is also perfect for the visuals, with some catchy tunes and cute sound effects. We tried playing So Many Me using a keyboard, but quickly found that a decent controller is a far better option. The controls can be tricky at first, until you master the skill of transforming a clone into a stone block, performing a jump, recalling the clone and then repeating the process in rapid succession. Don't worry though, as the game is quite forgiving, and dying only places you back a few steps at most. The only place it becomes an issue is during the boss battles, where dying usually requires you to start from scratch. Since Philo can only take 1 hit before dying, this can become quite frustrating, and it feels a bit out of place compared to the challenge in the rest of the game. Figuring out the patterns of the bosses is relatively easy, but you have to hit them a few times in succession to defeat them, which is a pain if you keep dying while trying to get in the last hit. The last boss in particular was a real pain and soured the experience a bit. If you like a challenge, you'll appreciate Kronos Castle, which contains some bonus levels and is accessible from the hub world. The castle has no checkpoints and the platforming is much more challenging than the regular gaming levels. It's completely optional, but worth the effort and adds some longevity to the game. Completing all the achievements and finding all the hidden items will keep you busy for ages, so the game offers good value for money. The only complaint we have about So Many Me is the boss battles, which are subjective. The rest of the game is brilliant, and we would have loved to see some of the stretch goals from the Kickstarter, such as the level editor, added to it. Nevertheless, if you're a fan of the genre, you can't afford to pass up on So Many Me, as it manages to impress even in the face of stiff competition. Thanks for joining me for this So Many Me PC review. Remember to like, subscribe and share. Until next time.